Hey everyone, Luke here with another video. For those of you new to our channel, my husband Tyler and I post videos on a weekly basis every Thursday about different aspects of our lives, mostly travel and environmental sustainability. Today I want to talk about some of the things that Tyler and I try and do in our everyday lives to reduce our environmental impact that we've learned over the years, and maybe other people will find useful in us sharing them. Number one is we try and eat more plant-based foods and less animal products. This is because current agricultural practices are very intensive in terms of land use, carbon footprint, and water use, among other factors. Eating more plant-based products and less animal-based products reduces our individual contribution to the systems that are wasteful in these areas. Another area we try to keep in mind when it comes to our environmental footprint is water use. So a couple different things that we keep in mind with water use, one being that by cutting down meat consumption, and particularly beef consumption, you're not contributing nearly as much with water use. Other areas are buying less new products, and this applies a lot, especially to clothing, because new clothing uses a ton of water in the production process. But this also can apply to pretty much any product that you can think of. A lot of products use a lot more water to make than you think. So we tend to prefer secondhand and reusable products that don't require us to constantly buy new things that are water intensive to make. Other things that we consider in terms of our everyday water use are we try and take shorter showers and military style showers, which is where you turn off the shower when you're lathering and only turn the water on when you're initially getting wet and rinsing. And then also not automatically washing a shirt that you wore for 2 hours that may not actually be dirty, but smelling it, inspecting it for stains or marks, being more mindful of how often you wash your clothes, with the benefit being that your clothes will last longer because the more you wash them, the more your clothes degrade. Another thing we try and keep in mind in terms of our environmental footprint is our electricity use. So what this means is that we try and turn off lights when we aren't using them. We're very fortunate right now in Northern Ireland in the summer and in our current flat, which has a lot of natural light, that we literally, I don't think, have turned on a light since we've been here. Can you imagine that? And a lot of that is because of where we are geographically. In the summer, we get long days of daylight, but also just the design of our particular flat is that we get so much natural light that we don't need to turn the lights on, which is awesome. Other ways we watch our electricity use that we've recently started implementing is that we don't charge our phones overnight. We actually charge them during the day when we're awake, and that's because most phones don't need 7 or 8 hours to charge, and therefore you're overcharging your phone and using electricity that's not necessary. And we also try to unplug things and, at least in the UK, turn off the power switch when we aren't using a particular outlet. Finally, a big electricity user are dryers. And this is something that since moving to the UK has actually been a positive change in that we don't tend to use the dryer anymore. We hang things up to dry, which is so much more economical, both in terms of environmental sustainability and electricity usage and the costs associated with that. Now, this is one that a lot of people don't necessarily think about, but food waste is a big contributor to carbon emissions because food that just sits in landfill emits a lot of methane, and that exacerbates climate change. So we try and reduce food waste in a couple different ways. One being that we try and compost when it's available, but also even bigger than that, we try and use up the food as much as we can without needing to throw it out in the first place. So ways that we do that are that when we grocery shop, we are very intentional about the things that we buy. We don't do any impulse buying when it comes to grocery shopping. Every food that we buy, we have a specific intention related to what we're gonna cook on a particular night, and we know on a weekly basis exactly how much food we're gonna use up. This is also a lot better for your pocketbook because I hate the idea of throwing away food because that's money that I spent that didn't contribute to anything. It's also kind of a fun challenge where when we do in the odd chance have food or spices or condiments that we aren't sure what to do with, it forces us to be a bit creative and come up with new recipes for things. And sometimes allows us to find different things that we like cooking with that we wouldn't have necessarily thought of before. All right, another big one that we consider and we've become really passionate about over the last few years is plastic waste. Plastic is so damaging to the environment in a number of different ways. One is that traditional plastic is made from oil, which we all know is a non-renewable resource, and extracting it has environmental consequences. Another thing that we don't like about plastic is that it is not truly 100% recyclable. Recycling is not going to solve our plastic problem because recycling a plastic bottle will degrade in quality every time that you recycle it and will always require a bit of virgin plastic to make it useful again. So this is not to say that no one should ever buy recycled plastic. Recycled plastic is better than virgin plastic, but it is not the best option. And we tend to opt for non-plastic reusable options, such as glass and aluminum, which are infinitely recyclable with no loss in integrity or quality of the product. And then a final reason we really don't like plastic is one that's been making a lot of international media attention lately, and that is plastic pollution with the oceans. Because it doesn't biodegrade very quickly, it stays in our environment to the point where every plastic toothbrush that has ever existed is still on the planet. And I think we as a society think that when we throw things out, that they just go to this magical place called away, but they still exist somewhere and they're still piling up and often get lost into our river systems and then into the ocean and contribute enormously to the degradation of our oceans and marine wildlife. So what do we do about it? We tend to opt for things that are not in packaging at all, but if they have to be packaged, we tend to look for things that are better and more easily recyclable or reusable. So again, things like glass or stainless steel or aluminum, we tend to go for over plastic. But really, a general point is that we buy less stuff. And we've actually found this valuable in a number of different ways. One being for the environment, 2 for money, but then 3, also just for our quality of life, in that studies have found that experiences are more likely to contribute to longer-term happiness, more so than physical objects. So resting your personal satisfaction with physical objects is less likely to keep you happy for as long and in a more fulfilling way, whereas experiences that are not tangible objects tend to contribute more to your overall happiness. And we've personally found that ourselves. So we tend not to buy a lot of physical stuff for each other. Alright guys, I hope that you enjoyed this video and hope that you found something useful out of it. What are some things that you try to incorporate in your daily life that contribute to environmental sustainability? Let us know in the comments down below, and we will see you at our next video. See you then. Bye.